try to knock these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 problems out right quick. I apologize for this being so late, just haven't had a chance to sit down today. The first one is 48, and it's f of x equals x to the 2/3 power. So I'm going to enter x to the 2/3 power in my y equals. And this particular question wants me to figure out where it's increasing and decreasing and constant. So here I have x to the 2/3. I'm going to look at the graph. And it appears to be decreasing until I get to this point and then increasing from there. This point right here is 0, 0. So I am going to say, I wish I could write on here, but I don't think I can. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say that it is decreasing from negative infinity to 0, and then increasing from 0 to infinity. Look over here and look. Decreasing from negative infinity until I get to 0, increasing from 0 to infinity. That's problem 48. 50, they want me to use a graphing utility, which is a graphing calculator again, to at this time find the relative maximums and minimums. So I'm looking for some high points or some low points in my graph. So let me get 50 typed in here. Alright, and take a look at this graph. It looks to me like I have a minimum here. I don't have a maximum anywhere, but I do have a minimum. So here's how we do this using a graphing utility. I push second, trace, just like I did when I was finding the zeros the other day, but now I'm going to pick number 3, the minimum. First thing it asks for is a left bound. So again, you're doing this like you did the zeros. I need to move over to the left of this low point and push enter, and it draws a vertical line. That's my left bound. Then it says right bound, question mark. So I'm going to move over until I'm to the right of that minimum point and push enter, and it makes a vertical line on the right side. So somewhere in between these lines is where it's going to find my minimum point. It says guess. I push enter again, and it's found the minimum at 0.33, negative 5.33. And I think the way that your book writes it is it says the minimum value. This is problem 50. This was 48. 50. It says the minimum value is negative 5.33 when x is 0.33. If I had, that's probably negative 5 1/3 and x is 1/3. But I'll go ahead and use the decimal since we're using the graphing calculator, which gives us the decimal answers. Alright, 52. Y equals x cubed, x to the 3rd power, minus 3x squared minus x plus 1. Graph that. This particular graph has both a maximum here and a minimum here. So I'm going to do this twice because they want to know any relative maximum and minimum. So the first one I'm going to do is the maximum over there on the left. So I'm going to choose second trace, and then I'll choose 4. I need a left bound, so I need to go to the left of that maximum point. Then it says right bound, question mark. I'm going to go to the right of that minimum point. So I've made a left bound and a right bound. Now it says guess. I just push enter one more time. I've got a maximum of I'm going to call it 1.08 when x is negative 0.15. So let me go over here and write that down. This is for problem 52. I've got a maximum of 1.08 when x is, I've already forgotten, negative 0.15. Alright, 0.15. No idea what all this other stuff just out here. Oops, I don't know why that moved up there. When x is negative 0.15. Alright, let me find the minimum point. Come back over here. Second trace. Now I want the minimum, which is 3. I'm going to come close to this minimum point, making sure I give it a left bound and a right bound. So somewhere in between here, there's a minimum. It says guess. I'm going to push enter again. There's a minimum. I'm going to say negative 5.08. when x is 2.15, negative 5.08, 5.08 when x is 2.15, that's the minimum. That's problem 52. Alright, 54, 56, 58, and 60, they want me to graph the function and determine for what interval the f of x is greater than or equal to 0. Alright, let's talk about what that means. F of x is greater than or equal to 0. Another word for f of x is y. So in other words, when is y greater than or equal to 0? So you're going to be looking at these graphs, and let's say the graph did something like this. My answer would be from this point on out. So that's where my y value is greater than 0, because this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. This is where y is 0, and 1, and 2, and 3. So anywhere from here on out is where it would be greater than or equal to 0. So let's take a look at problem 54. Y equals 4x plus 2. 4x plus 2. And I'm going to graph that. It hits 0 at, if I had to guess, that looks like negative 1/2. Let me go ahead and find that 0. Second trace 2. I need a left bound. Where'd it go? Second trace 2. I need a left bound. Enter. And a right bound. Enter. And that 0 right there is negative 0.5. So it looks to me like this graph is above 0 from negative 0.5 to infinity. So 54, my answer is going to be from negative 0.5 with a bracket, because that's when it's equal to 0, to infinity. Everywhere when x values are from negative 0.5 to infinity, the y values are above 0. And if you check it in your table just to make sure, you probably can't see negative 0.5, but right in here is where the y's start turning positive. So for everything above negative 1, every y value is positive. Alright, 56, I went ahead and typed it in, x squared minus 4x. Let's look at this graph. This particular graph comes down here, and then it hits here. This is the point 0, 0. This is the point 4, 0. So it is above the x-axis. All of our y values are positive. Look at this table. Our y values are positive. Let's see here. Until we get to 0. And then they're positive again from 4 on out. So looking at the graph, it appears the same way. It's from negative infinity until 0, and then from 4 to infinity. And that would be my answer for when f of x is greater than or equal to 0 for 56. It's going to be from negative infinity to 0, and from 4, I need a bracket there, don't I? From 4 with a bracket to infinity. Alright, 58. There's my cursor, there it is. 58 is the square root of x plus 2. I need to clear out what's there. Square root of x plus 2. This particular one, I can't do 0 on my, find the 0 on my calculator because I can't do a left bound and a right bound because it doesn't go past this point. But it is greater than 0 from negative 2 to infinity. So my answer here is going to be, for 58, from negative 2 with a bracket to infinity with the parentheses. And number 60, last one like this. 1/2. Whoops, y equals. Clear this out. 1/2. 1/2 times parentheses 2 plus the absolute value. You push math and you go over the number, absolute value of x. Alright, here's what that looks like. And this looks like the y values are positive everywhere. So my answer for, from negative infinity to positive infinity. So my answer for 60 is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity. Alright, 62, 64, and 66 ask about even and odd functions. I tried to give you notes on this today, but let's just review it a minute right here. Even functions are split by the y-axis, so it could be something like this, where the y-axis is your line of symmetry. It could be even an absolute value function if that y-axis was hitting it in the middle. Odd functions go through the origin and they are rotated around. So if you have a point over here, the opposite of that point would be right over here in this other quadrant. Neither is anything that is not cut by the y-axis or going through the origin so that it's rotated. Anything else is neither. Alright, so quickly I'm going to look at these last three. X cubed minus 5 is the first one, problem 62. X cubed minus 5. I know I don't like these videos to be more than 10 minutes, so I'm trying to hurry. This one to me looks neither. It's not going through the origin, and the y-axis is not cutting it in half. That one's neither. 64, y equals x times the square root of 1 minus x squared. Graph that. This one appears to be odd, and I'll show you. I can zoom in a little bit more. Let's let my window go from -2 to 2. I think you'll see it a little bit better if I zoom in on this. -2 to 2. Alright, graph this. You can tell that everything is just the opposite. It is rotated around this axis. So that's an odd function. And then 66, 4x to the 2/3 power. 4x to the 2/3 power is, oops, I probably should have gone back to a regular screen where you can see it. You can do zoom. It looks even, but let me make it a little bit bigger. I'll hit zoom and then it will zoom out. Zoom, if you go to 6, that's a standard window. That's the one we're used to seeing from -10 to 10. And again, it's drawing the graph and it is even. The y-axis is exactly the line of symmetry. So that one's an even function. Alright, that's it. We're going to wrap that up, and that's all your homework for this chapter.